Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Housing Community Development Department's Contract Compliance Virtual Technical Assistance Training for Contractors. We are pleased to have you join us today and hope that you find the presentations informative and beneficial. My name is Lakeisha Tate. I am a staff analyst with the Housing Community Development Real Estate Compliance Division, and I will be leading today's virtual technical assistance training focused on the pre-award services. Let's get started. So there have been organizational changes within the housing community development as a result of the mayor's citywide efficiency study. Laura Serrano now leads DBRA Section 3, MWSBE, and Pay or Play for the housing community development, real estate, and compliance section. Crystal Boyce is the compliance manager. She oversees and manages MWSBE, Pay or Play compliance for single family, professional services, and public service projects. Michelle Perales is the compliance manager that also manages and oversees DBRA Section 3,
I can't see your screen.
MWSBE, and Payer Play compliance for multifamily and public facility initiatives. As a staff analyst for the pre-award services, I am committed to contract compliance by ensuring that all representatives have a clear and comprehensive understanding of program rules and compliance expectations on the housing community development projects. Should you have any questions or concerns regarding pre-award compliance requirements, please feel free to contact me via email at lakeisha.tate@houstontx.gov or by phone at 832-394-6345. And I will also have my information provided in the chat box as well. Some of you who may be less familiar with pre-award services, so I would like to briefly explain my role in the pre-award services. It is to establish a strong compliance foundation at the earliest stages of a project by reviewing solicitation language, ensuring contract documents meet all applicable compliance standards, and evaluating and approving required compliance documentation, including the MWSB participation plans and pair play forms. This proactive process helps enhance project performance and significantly reduce compliance-related risks on housing community development projects. In this capacity, I will serve as your primary point of contact for owner developers, prime contractors, and general contractors, ensuring that compliance is proactive, progressive. This approach will ensure that all parties clearly understand program requirements and are fully prepared to implement them prior to the commencement of work. So, what are the benefits of the pre-award services? Pre-award services provide significant value by offering contracting parties clear, comprehensive guidance on applicable program requirements, thereby reducing the risk of project delays and ensuring compliance from the outset of the project. Upon notification of funding award, the contracting party receives formal communication outlining the compliance expectations related to DBRA, MWSBE, Section 3, and Pay or Play programs. In addition, pre-award services facilitate informational meetings with the contracting parties to review program rules, responsibilities, and compliance requirements specific to the pre-award phase. Pre-award services also request cost allocations that detail the use of funds, providing a transparent breakdown of project expenditures. This ensures that all project activities align with DBRA, MWSBE, Section 3, and Pay or Play requirements. During this portion of the pre-award presentation, I will outline the required pre-award documents that must be submitted on behalf of the owner developer and or general contractor prior to the commencement of any project activities. In this segment of the pre-award presentation, I will review the pre-award documents required that must be submitted on behalf of general contractor prior to activities. But please note that there has been a policy change that has been implemented under the City of Houston's MWSBE program. MWBE prime contractors are now permitted to meet advertised MWBE goals by self-performing up to 50% of your total contract goal. This policy applies only to new solicitations that were approved and or awarded on or after February the 3rd, 2023. So projects under solicitations or NOPAs approved prior to this date are not eligible for the 50% self-performance for MWBE primes. Also keep in mind that MWBE primes must select one participation goal to receive credit on construction projects, MBE or WBE. Once a prime contractor select that MBE or WBE certification type, participation credit will be capped at the proposed percentage or the approved goal, whichever one is lower. HCD has collaborated with the Office of Business Opportunity, which administers the MWSBE program, to establish categorical goals for HCD similar construction projects across multifamily, public facility, and single-family programs with HCD. These categorical goals have been incorporated into NOFAs and solicitations and apply only to construction-related activities within these programs. Effective February the 15th, 2026, HCD will no longer use categorical goals, and we must conduct a contract-specific analysis for each award to obtain an MWSBE goal from the Office of Business Opportunity. Therefore, for any new procurements advertised after February the 15th, 2026, the MWSBE goal may differ from these established categorical goals on the screen. So, if your project is subject to an MWBE goal, pre-award services will require the owner developer, prime contractor, and/or general contractor to complete and submit a compliant MWSB participation plan along with signed letters of intent to my attention for review and approval. Only firms certified through the City of Houston Office of Business Opportunity can be used toward the goal achievement of your advertised MWBE goal. To achieve your MWBE goal, you want to remember that MBE and WBE goals are separate and must be met individually. Any excess of one cannot offset a deficit in the other goal. You are allowed to substitute 4%, and it must be applied toward either the MBE or WBE goal, but both cannot get 4% each. Certified MWBE primes may count self-performance up to 50% of the overall advertised goal, only for work which you perform a commercial useful function, and the self-performance cannot be applied to multiple goals, only the MBE or the WBE. The total dollar value awarded to certified firms will only count toward work performed by that firm. One MWBE firm cannot be used to meet multiple goals unless it has been approved. Only City of Houston certified firms may be used to meet MBE or WBE goals. So you want to make sure that you search the City of Houston certified vendor directory to find where it's over 5,000 qualified firms to meet MWBE goals. You want to make sure that your participation plan is completely signed and all required fields on the participation plan has been completed. The plan must include the MWSBE signed letters of intent for all participating subcontractors and suppliers. So your submission requirements will be, you will only be required to submit one document, which is a 470, if the contract goals are met. If you do not meet the contract goals, or if you have good faith efforts of not meeting the goal, then you will be required to submit 3 documents. That will be the document 470, 471, and 472. So we're going to take a look at the MWSB participation plan, will be referred to as the document 470. The MWSB participation plan documents the contractor's commitment participation toward the advertised contract goals. It allows me to assess whether the contractor has a realistic plan to meet the MBE and WBE goals. So during my review, what I'm going to verify is firms are currently certified through the City of Houston Office of Business Opportunity. Firms are certified for the services listed. NAICS code matches the work under the certified profile. Percentages are accurate. MBE and WBE goals are met. The participation plan is signed and dated. So the contractor must submit the document 470 along with the signed MWSBE letters of intent to my attention, and all sections of this document 470 must be fully completed, accurate, and signed. In the event that your participation plan fails to meet the goal, or you want to document good faith efforts, then the second form that will be required will be called the pre-bid good faith efforts, known as document 471. This form is required when a contractor does not meet the advertised MWSBE goal. It allows the contractor to document the good faith efforts made to engage with MWSBE firms. It enables the administrative department to evaluate these efforts. The contractors must fully complete the bottom portion of the form, including the certified name, address, contact information, phone number, and email. The MWSB participation plan documents the contractor's commitment participation toward the advertised contract goals. It allows me to assess whether the contractor has a realistic plan to meet the MBE and WBE goals. During my review, I verify if firms are certified through the City of Houston Office of Business Opportunity, if firms are certified by the services listed, does the NAICS code match the work description? Are the percentages accurate? The MBE and WBE goals are where they met, and to ensure that your participation plan is signed and dated. So the contractor must submit the document 470 along with signed MWSBE letters of intent to my attention, and all sections must be fully completed, accurate, and signed. Now, document 471, which is known as the pre-bid good faith efforts, will only be required if your 470 failed to meet the advertised goal requirements. This form is required when a contractor does not meet your advertised MWSBE goal and allows the contractor to document the good faith efforts made to engage with MWSBE firms and enables the administrative department to evaluate these efforts. So you want to make sure that it's fully completed, the bottom portion of the form, including the certified firm's name, address, contact information, phone number, and email. This information is mandatory as the administrative department, which is the Office of Business Opportunity, will verify all good faith efforts submitted on this form. The third form that will be required if your participation plan fails to meet the advertised goal is known as document 472, which is the contractor deviation goal request. This form must be fully completed if the contractor's MWBE participation plan does not meet the advertised goal. This form indicates that you want to deviate from the advertised goal. It allows you to explain two things: why the advertised MWBE goals were not met, and additional good faith efforts that were not captured on document 471. You want to make sure that this form is completed, the bottom of the portion, including the certified names, address, contact, phone number, and email. Now we'll look at the MWSBE letter of intent. And this is the letter of intent that must be accompanied with your participation plan, known as document 470. You want to make sure the bid amount should reflect the direct construction amount from the City of Houston funding. You want to include the percentage that was listed on your participation plan. You want to make sure both the general contractor and the MWSBE subcontractor or supplier has signed this form. And all information must be provided for the submission to be deemed responsive. So you want to make sure this is accompanied with your MWSBE participation plan. So this is an example of what an MWSBE participation plan looks like. If you have a goal that was advertised for 34%, the breakdown for that is 23% MBE and 11% WBE, with 4% SBE substitution is allowed toward the MWBE goal. You want to make sure that you are filling in all of the fields, the NAICS code, the description of work, the total amount that you're going, a percentage that you're going to subcontract with this certified subcontractor or supplier. You want to indicate, are they going to perform services or they're going to be a supplier, and then you want to check one certification type. So you're either going to check MBE, WBE, or if you're substituting SBE, you want to select SBE, and then make sure that you put the certified firm's name and contact information. At the bottom of the bidder's participation plan, you want to make sure that you calculate all of the MBE participation and add that up. You want to make sure that you calculate all of the WBE participation, and then if you're substituting SBE, you want to make sure that it's substituted up to that 4%. You want to sign and date it and put contact information on this participation plan. When I'm assessing your participation plan, I'm looking to make sure that you submitted it along with your signed letters of intent, that you signed and dated, that you listed certified subcontractors and suppliers from the City of Houston Office of Business online directory, and that all fields are completed and is signed. So this plan must demonstrate meeting just the minimum goal requirement. So if your goal is 34%, we're looking for you to meet 34%. If it's 29, we're looking for you to meet 29. If it's 38, we're looking for you to meet 38. If you submit a plan that exceeds your advertised goal, you will be responsible for adhering to the goals outlined on that approved MWSBE participation plan. My standard processing time is 7 to 10 business days once I receive all pre-award documents. And now all documents will be required to be submitted to a specific email, and that's going to be HCD pre-award at houstontx.gov. If you submit an MWSBE participation plan and it has been deemed approved, you will receive an email for us to recommend scheduling the pre-construction meeting. If you have a non-responsive MWSBE participation plan, then I'm looking to have the 470, the 471, and the 472. Non-responsive participation plans and participation plans that have good faith efforts submitted along with it will have to be forwarded over to the Office of Business Opportunity for evaluation of good faith efforts and supporting documentation. Office of Business Opportunity processing time is 7 to 10 business days, and timelines or can restart if you're requested to submit new supporting documentation. I'm not involved in the evaluation of non-responsive plans or good faith efforts. OBO will provide final recommendations directly to the contractor and pre-award services. So I will be able to, if I approve it, then OBO approve it, then we can recommend the scheduling of the pre-construction meeting. Next, we will review the pre-award payer play requirements for the housing community development projects that are subject to payer play compliance. The City of Houston Payer Play Program is established under Article 5, Section 7A of the City Charter and Chapter 15 of the City of Houston Code of Ordinance, as well as Executive Order 1. The purpose of this executive order is to require certain contractors to either provide a minimum level of healthcare benefits to eligible employees or contribute a designated amount to help offset the cost of healthcare insurance for uninsured individuals in the Houston and Harris County area. The general contractor, prime contractor, will be required to submit the payer play pre-award documents. The POP 1 will be your payer play acknowledgement form. The POP 2 will be your payer play certification of compliance with the payer play program. And the POP 3 will be the payer play program list of subcontractors. And last but not least, we have a B2G management system access form. You want to ensure that all of these payer play pre-award documents are submitted to my attention for review and approval before I can recommend proceeding with a pre-construction meeting or issues of a notice to proceed. So we'll take a look at the POP 1, which is the payer play acknowledgement form. The contractor acknowledges the payer play program and agrees to comply if you awarded the contract. This form must be completed and submitted along with all other pre-award documents. All fields must be completed except for the solicitation number, which is not required. And if you have a city vendor number, please provide it. Otherwise, you can indicate NA where appropriate. The POP 2 is the certification of compliance. The contractor must complete and submit POP 2 with the pre-award documents. Ensure that all your fields for the prime contractor are completed, including the name, address, the outline agreement, which will be your contract number starting with the 46 and 3 zeros following. The project name and the contract department should indicate HCD. The contractor must select how will you participate in the payer play program. Will you pay, play, or both? If you pay, that means you, as a contractor, will pay the city $1 per hour for each covered employee working on the contract, including subcontract employees. If you choose the play option, that means you, the contractor, will provide health care benefits to covered employees and subcontracts with proof acceptable to housing community development. If you choose both, this means as the contractor, you may pay for some employees and provide benefits for others, including subcontractors. So you want to ensure all fields under the prime contractor column are completed. Where it says Covered employees, that means 18 years older, work at least 30 hours a week on a city contract or any amount of time on a city contract or subcontract. Non-covered, you can enter in A. Exempt employees, that means they're under the age of 18, covered by other insurance, meaning spouse, parent, Medicare, Medicaid, or declined coverage, but was offered benefits and it meets the City of Houston 7525 standard, and proof is required. You want to make sure that this POP 2 form is signed and dated and submitted along with the pre-award documents. Now, this is our POP 3 form where you're going to list all of your contractors. This form is completed and submitted. All contractors, subcontractors, consultants, service providers, vendors, suppliers intended for the use on your project must be listed regardless of certification status, scope of work, or contract amount. You want to list everyone that you intend on participating on your project. They should be listed on the POP 3 form. So I definitely want to ensure that if you submit an MWSP participation plan, that means all of those subcontractors or suppliers from your MWSP participation plan should be listed on your POP 3 form. Now we have the B2G access form. Its contractor is required to complete it. Form entirely for providing access to your designated staff that will have access to the system for pay-or-play compliance requirements for your project. So next we have DBRA requirements will be addressed briefly in the context of pre-award documents. For projects subject to DBRA requirements, depending on the funding source, a competitive procurement for a general contractor may be required. In such cases, prevailing wages are issued before the pre-bid meeting. Rates are locked in by the bid opening date and subject to execution of a general construction contract. If the contract is not awarded within 90 days of the bid opening, any modifications to the wage determination must be included in the contract and exceptions may apply. So we have a general wage determination form. So to determine the appropriate prevailing wages for the federal construction projects, a general wage determination form must be submitted along with a detailed construction cost estimate. The general wage determination request must be obtained prior to scheduling the pre-construction meeting, and additionally confirm that applicable wage rates in federal compliance form packet are included both the bid and your contract documents as minimum requirements before proceeding. Pre-bid meetings. DBRA requires pre-bid meetings, and the meetings provide the appropriate opportunity to present bidding contractors with an overview of the applicable prevailing wage rates and related compliance requirements. A pre-construction meeting in accordance with the 29 CFR Part 5 is required to be conducted prior to commencement of any construction work. An onboarding meeting, this means before construction begins, the contract administrator must complete the onboarding training session with the general contractor and or designated compliance staff or consultant. So the Department of Labor final prevailing wages may be subject to change when a contract or order is amended to include additional substantial construction work that was not within the original scope of work, or to extend performance for an additional time period not originally obligated, including when an option is exercised under the contract or order. So our office has introduced a contract compliance acknowledgement form that must be submitted alongside the necessary pre-award documents before any recommendation for proceeding with a pre-construction meeting or project-related meeting and activities. This document acts as a confirmation of the contracting party obligations to adhere to program requirements. So before recommending to proceed with project activities, this document serves as an affirmation of the contracting party responsibility to ensure compliance with program responsibilities. So as the owner, developer, general, prime contractor, and or appointed compliance consultant, this form acknowledges your responsibility to ensure compliance with program requirements. So the compliance requirements identified on this contractor acknowledgement form we'll start with the certified firms and payments. Payments count toward participation goals only made when made to certified firms. Credit applies only to firms properly added to the project after certification. So any firms listed on your initial participation plan, any payments made to those firms will be counted toward your participation goal. Keep in mind, if those certified subcontractors or suppliers utilize lower tier subcontractors or suppliers that are not certified, those payments will not count. So you want to ensure that when you procure certified subcontractors or suppliers and they have anybody working on the project helping them that are not certified, we will not count any payments that your certified subcontractors or suppliers made to those non-certified firms. We only count payments made to certified firms included in the goal. If you have a certified firm that you want to participate on the project that was not on your initial participation plan, you need to submit a deviation request to your designated MWSBE compliance administrator. That way, before payments are made to any certified firms, we can get those payments. We can get that certified firm included in the goal to count the payments toward your participation goal. But only payments made to certified firms included on your initial participation plan can be counted toward your goal. The next area is non-compliance. So failure to comply may result in payment withholding, project termination, and suspension on HCD projects. So it's very crucial that not only the prime contractor, but all of your subcontractor suppliers, anyone participating on the project, you want to make sure that they stay in compliance with all applicable programs, because 9 times out of 10, it is the subcontractors or suppliers that are working on the project for the prime contractor that will not be in compliance and result in our department, holding the compliance areas withholding payments. So you want to make sure, before the project starts, you lay out the federal compliance regulations, the contract compliance form packets, and you have an onboarding with these subcontractors and suppliers to ensure that they are aware of what the compliance expectations and requirements before they start on a housing community development project. This will help with any time a payment is requested to be released, our compliance areas should be able to release them without any problems. The next, we have a mandatory participation. So firms listed on your MWSB participation plan and performing work on the project will be required to at least attend one technical assistance training throughout the duration of the project. We also encourage, once you have scheduled a pre-construction meeting, to encourage those subcontractors or suppliers to attend the pre-construction meeting so they can hear the vital information for the compliance requirements and expectations up front. So they'll be aware of what's going to be required for them and they won't be overwhelmed once the project has started. Next, we have the closeout evaluation. So to receive a successful project rating on your MWBE goals, on your POP requirements, or your compliance documentation, you want to make sure that all participation goals must be met for MWSBE, or you provide supporting documentation for your good faith efforts. You want to make sure you, the prime, and all of your contractors working on the project are submitting your documentation in a timely manner to make sure that when you are documented for your compliance documentation that you receive a successful rating on that as well. So policy acknowledgement. So we want to ensure that the contractor acknowledge and understand compliance with the following policies. We want to make sure that you have an updated copy of the City of Houston Pay or Play Executive Order 1 through 7. We want to make sure that you are aware of the City of Houston MWSBE policy and the City of Houston Good Faith Efforts policy. You want to make sure that you have a copy, you're aware of it, you provide a copy to your contractors that are applicable to MWSBE and Pay or Play as well. So the owner, developer, and or general contractor will complete and date the acknowledgement form and then submit it to my attention along with the required pre-award documents. So next we'll get into required solicitation documents as it relates to projects that may possibly be competitively bidded out. So solicitation language. So before advertising for your general contractor, if you're on a developer, or subcontract, you want to make sure that I review a copy of the solicitation content and attachments to ensure that it includes applicable program requirements and required documents in your solicitation. So before you advertise it, a copy of that solicitation needs to be forwarded to my attention for review and approval. This is a copy of what the solicitation language looks like if you're procuring a prime contractor for MWSBE. It just states that you shall comply with the city's Minority Women Business Enterprise program set out in Chapter 15 ordinance. It identifies that the contractor shall efforts to award subcontractors or supply agreements in at least, and then in that box you will put your percentage that you're supposed to advertise for your MWBE goal. It also acknowledges that if the contract is a certified MBE or WBE, they may count 50% toward the total advertised goal. And then it also states that the contractor acknowledges that it has reviewed the requirements of the good faith efforts on file with the Office of Business Opportunity, and you will comply with those good faith efforts. Then for pay and play, it just states that the contractor shall comply with the City of Houston Pay and Play program requirements as set out in Executive Order number 1 through 7, and the requirements and terms must be incorporated in your solicitation for all purposes, and that contractors have reviewed the required documents in Executive 1 through 7. It provides the link with those POP documents, and the contractor shall demonstrate their willingness to ability to comply with the City of Houston contract fair play program. So you want to make sure that this language is included in any of your solicitation. Now, in reference to the prime contractor, we want to ensure that the following documents is included in your contract. So you want to make sure that if your contract is applicable to DBRA, that you have that DBRA general wage determination included. You want to make sure your federal regulation compliance packet is included, and you want to make sure the requirements for the City of Houston program for minority women and small business enterprise, known as MWSBE, is included, is referenced and included, along with the City of Houston good faith effort policy. So what will be required is that a draft copy of your construction contract should be submitted to my attention for review and approval for me to ensure that the required compliance language and documents for applicable programs were included and they were referenced. So the pre-award compliance red flags. What I notice when I'm reviewing pre-award documents is signed letters of intent or not included with your MWSBE participation plan. You listing firms without an active Office of Business certification. So it's very important that if you procure any certified subcontractors or suppliers, that you visit the Office of Business online directory to review their certified profile to ensure that the firms that you're listed on your participation plan are currently certified. So you want to make sure that it's not pending. They're currently certified as a MBE, a WBE, or SBE, right? You also want to make sure that your participation plans does not exceed the minimum goals. As I said earlier, if your participation, if you advertise, it has a 34% goal, then I'm only looking for you to meet a 34% goal, meet your minimum goal. If you submit a participation plan and exceeds your advertised goal, you will be required to adhere to that goal throughout the duration of the project. So you just want to make sure that your participation plans meet the minimum goal requirements. Another red flag is when improper substitution of SBE participation toward MBE and WBE goals. You want to make sure that you're substituting 4%, right? 4% can go toward MBE and or WBE goals. They both cannot get 4, but you want to make sure that you're not exceeding that 4% substitution limit. Listing MWSBE firms for credit without notification. That's a no-no. That's why it's very important that you get your certified subcontractors and suppliers to sign that MWSBE letter of intent. You want to make sure that MWSBE firms are properly notified that you intend on utilizing them to meet your contract goals. Don't just look in the directory, find a certified firm, and list them on the MWSB participation plan. You need to have proper notification to that MWSBE firm asking them will they like to perform on the project, this and that. You want to not list them on your participation plan without proper notification from them. Another red flag is incomplete POP3 forms. You want to make sure that anyone that you intend on utilizing on your specific project, that you identify them on your POP3 form. Red flags is you turn in a POP3 form and I don't see none of the certified subcontractors or suppliers that you listed on your MWSBE participation plan. Red flag. I'm going to send it back to you, tell you that it needs to be revised, and you need to at least make sure that all participants on that MWSB participation plan is identified on your POP3 form. Failure to submit the required pre-award documents in a timely manner. This is very important. Everyone asks me, well, when is the day? When do I need to submit it? Oh, I'm on your time. So whenever you have a construction start date that you want to start on, then I advise you to send these pre-award documents in a timely manner. Because if your pre-award documents or your MWSB participation plan does not meet the goal requirements or you have good faith efforts, that has to be sent over to another City of Houston department to evaluate and review. That's gonna delay time. So just make sure that you are sending these pre-award documents in a timely manner to prevent any delays in your construction start dates. So we'll get into frequently answered questions. So when are pre-award documents required to be submitted? So you want to submit all the pre-award documents to me in a timely manner prior to me being able to recommend scheduling of a pre-construction meeting and notice to proceed. So like I said, I'm on the contractor and owner developer's time. When you want to, when you've procured your certified firms, you have all of your pre-award documents completed, you want to make sure that they are submitted to me in a timely manner to meet any construction start date timeline. Who do we submit the pre-award documents to? Like I said, we now have created an email address for pre-award. So you'll submit all pre-award documents via email to hcdpreaward@houstontx.gov. And like I said, you want to make sure when you submit your pre-award documents, you want to submit all the documents to me at once. I won't accept documents that's been pieced. So if it's applicable to MWSBE, I need you to submit the participation plan and assign letters of intent. If it's also applicable to pay or play, I need those pay or play documents as well. And I also need your contract acknowledgement form. So I need all of those documents to be submitted to HCD Pre-Award at Houston TX all together. Because my processing time will not start until I receive all of the pre-award documents, and that processing time is 7 to 10 business days. What are the next steps following submission of pre-award documents? So the next step is that I will review your documents for completion and accuracy, and then if everything is complete and accurate, then I'll move forward with recommending the next steps. If the MWSB participation plan is deemed non-responsive, what is the next step? So the plan and the supporting documents will be forwarded to the City of Houston Office of Business Opportunity for review of your participation plan, possibly cure a participation plan that didn't meet the goal, and to review and evaluate good faith efforts if they were submitted with a participation plan. The OBO processing time is 7 to 10 business days. They will be in communication directly with that prime contractor, and they will notify me if the MWSB participation plan and good faith efforts with that determination. And like I said, I'm not involved in the evaluation of any MWSB participation plan that is deemed non-responsive. I'm not involved in that evaluation. So how are good faith efforts evaluated? Good faith efforts are evaluated on a case-by-case basis in accordance with the City of Houston Good Faith Efforts policy by the Office of Business Opportunity. So if you submit an MWSBE participation plan and it has good faith efforts, it will be reviewed by the Office of Business Opportunity, and I definitely encourage you to review the City of Houston Good Faith Effort Policy to make sure that if your MWSB participation plan fails to meet the goal and you have good faith efforts, that they are acceptable good faith efforts by the City of Houston Good Faith Efforts Policy. So it's always very imperative that you review that policy and you get familiar of what's acceptable good faith efforts. So just sending an email said that you emailed to certified firms and say that they decided that they didn't want to participate on a project, that would not be acceptable good faith efforts. So you would definitely want to review that good faith efforts policy and see what's acceptable. Before a notice to proceed is issued or pre-construction meeting is scheduled, all preliminary documentation must be submitted by the owner, developer, and or general contractor for review and approval. My standard processing time is 7 to 10 business days once all pre-award documents have been submitted. Please ensure that all the required documents are submitted together, as the evaluation process will not begin until all pre-award documents for applicable programs have been received. All pre-award documents should be sent to the HCD pre-award at houstontx.gov. At this time, do anyone have any questions or comments in regards to this pre-award services presentation? All right, I guess there are not any no comments and no questions. Perfect. So this concludes the pre-award services presentation. I really appreciate your presentation in our virtual technical assistance training, and to help us improve further sessions, we invite you to provide feedback. A survey link will be provided to all registered attendees following the technical assistance training, and the recording and PowerPoint presentations will be available on HCD website within 7 to 14 business days. Following this session, Carolyn Seals will lead the MWSBE Virtual Technical Assistance Training, which will begin at 10:30. Thank you, and we hope that you find the next presentation informative and engaging. Have a great day.